Imagine that you're given two lives. In one of the lives, you have great successes, but no one remembers you as being kind. And in the next life, all your achievements are forgotten, but everybody whom you touched in their lives says that they felt seen. Which one of the two lives was more successful and why?
I love this hypothetical, but most people, when forced to choose one over the other, probably would feel like they want others to feel felt or to feel seen, feel loved, understood, respected, feel less alone. But still, they have our nervous system having an unconscious drive to drive us towards achievements and milestones based on how we are culturally conditioned. If you think the difference between I want to be a person who makes people feel seen and I need to accomplish this next thing, accomplishing the next thing gives one an immediate signal of progress, numbers, title, money, followers, degrees, promotions, projects completed, status, milestones. Those things are highly legible. You can look at your life and say, I got the degree, I got the company, I got X followers, I got X amount of money, I published this book, I became successful. But I made 700 people feel deeply seen isn't something you can easily measure. So the culture environment itself constantly reinforces that first category, the category of accomplishing everything, but that you haven't touched anyone and no one remembered you as kind. And the deeper paradox is achievements are often pursued because we imagine they'll eventually produce the thing of wanting to feel seen and wanting others to feel seen. See, once I become successful, I'll have enough security to relax. Or once I prove myself, I'll finally feel worthy or safe. Or once I accomplish something, I'll feel significant and I'll feel like I matter. Once I become impressive, people will love, people will respect me, and so and so and so. And we can spend decades accumulating achievements in pursuit of emotional states that we could have already culturally directly reinforced with one another, and to make that a norm, to pursue that as opposed to those milestones. And that's probably the sharpest thing I think this hypothetical is touching on. Not to say achievements is inherently bad, but rather achievement is externally visible, but human presence itself is internally felt, has to be internally felt. And cultures tend to reward what they can see and measure. And there's also a status game dimension to it. Imagine two people die. Person A founded companies, accumulated wealth, won awards, became famous, and person B had an ordinary career, but whenever they spoke to someone and that person felt unusually understood, the first person's legacy is much easier to preserve historically. There are records, buildings, awards, Wikipedia pages, institutions. The second person may be almost completely invisible to history, and yet person B may have had the most enormous effect on the actual human experience here on this planet. And even generations evolve down the line. This person B might have way more. See, a child who listened might become a different adult. A friend who understood might survive a difficult period. And someone who felt worthless might regain a sense of dignity because another person actually treated them like a peer. And those effects don't show up on the resume. And there's an uncomfortable question here too. It's almost like if nobody could ever know about your accomplishments, would you still want them? And conversely, if nobody could ever know that you were a kind person, deeply present person, would you actually want to be present with? Would you actually want to be kind with another? And I guess that's getting closer to intrinsic versus an extrinsic motivation here. So it's like, would we prefer doing something valuable without needing the world to turn it into a monument of you? Like, yeah, sure, achievements and competency and mastery and contribution and recognition can all be genuine human good. But the problem is when the scoreboard becomes a substitute for the actual living of the life, fully inhabiting your body and also being with another that's fully inhabiting their body or helping them to fully inhabit their own body. That's the deepest version of what living means, what living is. And I do think culture deeply reinforces us to remarkably be willing to sacrifice the quality of our lived relationships in exchange for the things that we can prove to ourselves, to others, to show that our lives are actually significant. I do know things can change. I hope things can change. I know we'll get there as a society, as a species. Maybe not in this lifetime. Maybe in a few generations further down, let's say 10 generations, 20, who knows, 50, or maybe 100. But we'll get there. We'll get there.